for the delay.
It's 38 large hill. You go in through the main door.
Okay, we're continuing. Finishing a Perek now. Everybody get the l'chaim out.
To the right of the garage.
Whichever form of l'chaim that you have. Also, ha'ara from yesterday. Tried to look into it today, and then I ran out of time. But yesterday we left over with the Gemara. We did it quickly, but we left over with the Gemara that if the engaged couple sleeps together illegally, so then according to Abaya at least, for chayshed the kids are mamzer. Right? Would DNA testing help for this? DNA testing not so passul that it ever helps. Right? So would it help for this to prove paternity? I mean, it's not like you need such a major raya here. Right? I mean, the assumption is that she was mezana with her chassan. Right? We're just afraid that maybe, she was with other people. Okay, so DNA testing should take care of that. No? But I don't know. I'm not sure.
Is DNA testing acceptable today in our Torah?
That's what I'm saying. Eidus, no, I don't think it would be accepted as Eidus because circumstantial evidence doesn't really work. But I'm thinking here, I'm just thinking out loud, is that DNA here, we're not looking for Eidus here. We're just looking to see, right? What was the whole claim?
She ran around.
Right. So we're not sure. Did she run around? Did she not run around? So the DNA testing, which is, let's say, accurate to 99 point something percent, or I don't know, whatever the numbers are, then that should l'chayra be enough to at least establish that the kid's not a mamzer. In this case, I don't know for all cases, but maybe in this case. Okay, I'm not sure.
Well,
anyway,
the question is why Rav said she's the kid's a mamzer, when at best it's a suffix. He's asking vadei mamzer. So whatever the reason for that is, it could be DNA won't help.
Okay, all right. I don't know. Right here. He's saying it depends how strict you're looking at this. Okay. So anyway, so we're about 10 lines down by the 2 dots. 10 lines down on Ayin Amud Aleph. Yeah. So we're going through all the cases of how you become passul from terumah. So we said a eved passul mishum bia. An eved passuls because of from bia. Now, as always with the Gemara, when the Gemara says v'chulu, that Gemara is not going on the eved passul mishum bia. It's going on way later. That's why the v'chulu. That's why it says the v'chulu. Why the Gemara always does that, I have no idea. Why doesn't it just quote the line that it's going on? Okay. But the Gemara says my timer, meaning it's what it's going on is we said that an Eved Kanani's kid is not considered your kid. Again, remember the rule is that if a bas kohen marries a kohen and then she loses her husband either to divorce or to death, she's not allowed to go back to eat terumah if she has kids, right? If she has any kids, whether it's a grandkid, a great grandkid, etc., it doesn't make a difference. She's not allowed to go back. She has to have no nothing coming, no descendants, and then she could. So let's say she has a descendant of it that's an Eved Kanani, which we had said is talking about where the daughter had a son and the son went and slept with an Eved Kanani. Now the Eved Kanani has a kid, whatever it is. So that kid is considered like as if it doesn't exist. L'chumra and l'kula. My timer. What's the reason? The woman and her kids are to her master. So since the Eved Kanani belongs to her master, meaning the Shifcha Kananis belongs to the master, so does her kid. So since it belongs to the master, it can't belong to anybody else. So since it can't belong to anybody else, it's if it doesn't exist. Fine. Then we said mamzer passul ma'achel, but a mamzer is considered a kid, right? And if somebody has a grandchild that's a mamzer, that will, if she's a bas kohen married to Yisrael, that will make her not be able to eat terumah. And if it's a kohen married to a bas Yisrael, that will enable her to eat terumah. So how do we know? So Tana Rabbanan v'zera ein la, right? And she doesn't have kids. There's last week's parsha, right? If she doesn't have kids, she goes back to her father's house, and she's able to eat teruma. Ainly ala zara. That only tells you that her kids. Zera zara minai. What about grandchildren? How do you know that if she has grandchildren, she cannot go back to eat teruma? Tamler v'zera ain't la mikom. It says she doesn't have kids from anywhere. But if she has kids from any sort of situation, even if they're grandchildren, even great grandchildren, then that's considered her kids. Okay, so Gemara says ainly ala zera kosher. That only tells me if she has kosher kids. Zera passul minai. But how about passul kids like mamzer? Tamler v'zera ain't la. She doesn't have kids. Ayin Allah. Check her out. Meaning, check and see if she has any sort of children. Even if she has a mamzer, as long as it's considered a child, then it's hers, and therefore she's either allowed to eat truma or she's not allowed to eat truma. But you just finished saying that we have the drasha zera zara to tell her grandchildren. So how can you say zera zara means for mamzer? So Gemara says, Zera Zara le'itzra for grandchildren, you don't need a pasuk, because we know the rule, b'nei banim harein kebanim, right? Kids of kids are definitely like your kids, meaning grandchildren are like your kids. So ki itzra, when you need a pasuk, l'zera passul. So we need the pasuk to tell us that zera passul is still considered your zera. Fine. So Amar le Rav Shalkish Rav Yochanan Keman, who is this like? Rabbi Kiva Amar yesh mamzer mechayv elaven. We mentioned this in the Mishna. Right, so the Mishnah, for whatever reason, chooses a case of what was the case the Mishnah chose to make mamzer, an Eved Kanani or a guy being mazana with a Yiddish woman, right? Why the Mishnah had to choose that case and not a standard case? That's already that's a tumult in the Mefarshim exactly why that is. But either way, the Mishnah is clearly saying that it's a mamzer. If the father is a guy, then it's a mamzer, right? So that's what the Mishnah is. That's what Gemara is asking. Are we going with according to Rabbi Kiva, right? That who we don't paskin like. So Gemara says no. Afilu teimak rabbanon. We could even say it's going to the rabbanon who hold it doesn't make chayve lav and don't make mamzer. But kachavim ve'eved maidu. They're maida by an ovid kachavim and an eved. They're the chacham maida that will make mamzer. The chiyasar of dimi yomer of yitzchak of dimi b'shem rabbeinu ovid kachavim ve'eved haba bas yisrael have vlad mamzer. And ovid kachavim and an eved that sleep with a bas yisrael, the vlad is a mamzer. Which it's interesting because now you have even the rabbanon who are maida, and we don't paskin like this, right? I'm sure everybody here knows somebody, if not more than one person, whose father is a guy, right? Saying in our communities we have it. Baruch Hashem, we're open communities and we allow all types, and it's a wonderful thing. And we have many that and their kids get married and do regular shidduchim and all that. How? According to these two shitas, Sai Rabbi Kiva, Sai the Rabbanan, the kids are mamzer, right? Even if it was done through a marriage, which it can't be because it's the father's a guy, right?
So we don't paskin like that. Is that what it is?
No, we don't paskin like this. We do not paskin. It's interesting. Not like Rabbi Kiva, not like the Rabbanan. Right,
didn't we have that old Gemara with Rav where he caused somebody to die because he passed in that they're not mamzer?
Yeah. That's
saying those are all those sheetas the Gemara brings down there.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's how we paskin that it does not make a mamzer.
So
right, we even declared that if a woman is mezana, it's a machlokes rishonim. If a woman is mezana from her marriage with a guy, it's a machlokes rishonim whether she's even usher to her husband. Right, I think we paskin that she's not usher to her husband, even though she would be mezana with a yid, she is usher to her husband. She's mezana with a guy, not. Right.
So why does it? Why for a girl? So why is there not an issue?
For who? Which issue?
I'm saying mamzeris because you don't.
It's not why because we paskin like Akiva. So we don't paskin like not like Rabbi Kiva, not like the Rabbanon. And we paskin that a father who's a guy is not going to make a mamzer.
Nothing. So the kid's a regular kid?
Kid's a regular kid. The mother's a yid. Remember we had said, Aaron Kaplan, remember we said that you don't call him up Ben Avram. It's a big mistake that the Gabayim make, whatever, that the Shuls make. They call these guys up as Ben Avram. The Shulchan Aruch says, or the Mefarshim Shulchan Aruch say, do not call them up as Ben Avram. They're not Ben Avram. Ben Avram is meant for a ger. For a guy that has a Yiddish mother and a Goyish father, it's not supposed to be called a Ben Avram. He can either be called by his mother's name or his mother's father's name.
So what's Takab shot that we do it like that the other way?
What do you mean?
Amaratzis?
It's Amaratzis, yeah, it's Amaratzis.
But if we're worried about him being uncomfortable, wouldn't the mother's name be just as bad?
Yeah, so the mother's name would be weird. No, but you can't do Avram. It's not,
I think that stands out a little more because there are people named Avram.
You do the grandfather, Jesse.
No, you do the
No,
mother's
100%. I'm just saying, just like even the option of the mother is
because
weird.
the point is that we look at it like the kid has no father. It's just like there's no father. There's no father. Right? That's the way it goes. Okay, fine. So then it says kohen gadol pam shapakso, right? So we said that strange case that sometimes you could have a kohen gadol who sometimes passuls, sometimes, I mean, you could have a grandson who's a kohen gadol who could theoretically make his grandmother not eat terumah because he comes from a Yisrael. So he said, Tana Rabbanan, Hareini kaparas ben biti kuza. Meaning, I should be a kapara for my daughter's son, who's the mamzer. Now, when somebody says Hareini kaparas, that's a lashon of I'm going to let me take the hit for them. Right? Meaning, when somebody, this is another halacha that many people are not aware of. When one loses a parent, so for the first year, the one is not supposed to say my father, Olav Shalom. You're supposed to say my father, or say a mother, Hareini kaparas mishkavi, that whatever punishments they're supposed to get, supposed to go on me. Say that, Naftali? Right? So anyway, you're supposed to Hareini kaparas. So here we're saying,
when are you supposed to say it?
Anytime you say something over b'shem a parent, instead of saying my father is a for the first year only.
No, I
first year only.
No.
Oh, that's it. That's it. We got
I gotta start
Naftali.
again.
Rabarim, we got Naftali now.
I gotta start again.
What?
We got Naftali Hareini kaparas mishkavi, but it's no taina because it means like the olam does. That seems like the minig. It's one of those things by Hilchos Avelis that people don't do anymore. Saying Hareini kaparas mishkavi, that the meaning during the year, the son is supposed to say, or the kids are supposed to say, whatever kapara they need to get, let it go on me. Right?
When are you supposed to say this?
Anytime you say something, anytime you'd say my father Zechron Levrachim, you say no, my father Hareini kaparas mishkavai.
I don't think I
For
ever
the
said my
first
father.
year. Okay, good. You never say anything over shame your father. That's fine.
That's it, Naftali. You have to start davening again. For
That's right.
I just said
you
I
have to
said I
go
have to
till
start
there
over
now
again.
to Shem Shabbos and stand there a whole day. You have to.
Wait, Naftali, it's not just saying over Torah Bishmai. Every time you mention your father, you say Hareini kaparas
That already,
mishkavi.
it's not so clear. It seems like it's more like when you're saying some, not Torah necessarily, saying something over fried, just okay, whatever. But anyway, that's what the Gemara is saying here, that this grandmother is so happy with her grandson, the mamzer. That's what the Gemara's point is. I'm so happy with my grandson, the mamzer, Hareini kapara. I should be a kapara. I should get his kapara. Why? Because he's allowing me to eat teruma, right? Even though he's a mamzer, right? He eats me. He makes me eat teruma. What?
Well, that's the Gemara we had like 3-4 blot ago, which a lady is happy to have somebody take care of her in her old age. So she
right. Yeah. So she's got this grandson who's a mamzer who's allowing her to eat teruma.
That sounds very good. This morning,
It does, which I tell you. That's what the Gemara is saying, right? That is
I'm
what
happy to eat teruma. He's a mamzer. He should stay a mamzer.
it doesn't make a difference. As long as he's alive, she could eat teruma, right? And then Be'eni kaparas ben biti, and I don't. That part I can understand. She's praising the kid as a mamzer, but here Be'eni kaparas, I don't want to be a kapara for my daughter's son, Kada, who's a jug, meaning a chosh of a person, the kohen gadol, shepaslaini min truma, because he passes me from the teruma, right? So that's she, meaning she's happy with her grandson, the mamzer, and not happy with her grandson, the kohen gadol. Zev, I have to say something, Zev. This reminds me, mamish, of your grandfather. Okay, I was like to sit next to him, but in the yeshiva, well, so he always tell her, well, you guys going to law school? Not Rabbi Naftali's father, Rabbi Yeager's father. Like every other yid from then, he wanted his kid to become a lawyer, a doctor, this and that. He became a Rosh Yeshiva. No, so he used to complain to us, like, you guys are going to become You guys becoming lawyers, you're going to college, and then he's like, you thought, oh, your son's a Rosh Hashiva. My son's a Rosh Hashiva, could have been a lawyer, a doctor.
At the end of his life,
No, of course, I know he's kidding around. He's a funny guy, but I'm just, just reminds me of that. This lady, she's got a grandson, a kohen gadol. She's not happy because she can't eat her terumah, right? Yeah. Anyways, okay.
In this case, does it work for kachim or just for terumah? It's always just for terumah, these cases?
L'chaim. Yeah. The next, by the way, the next Perek is about 14, 15 blot long. So for those that only drink l'chaim by the siyum, enjoy it.
Can't drink in bed.
Well,
I think
15 blot, it would come out, it would be, when it's not young, I was thinking.
Maybe. Yeah. I think it's only terumah, Gershon.
That's what I thought also.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting lashon this to write about. I mean, it's just terumah.
Yeah.
So you can eat a little bit more challah. What? Already kaparas mishkav the mamzer, but
I know. Hey, listen, this was a I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Yeah, it's Yevamos. No. Okay. All right, next Perek. So the next Perek continues with the teruma and etc. So ha'arel. Yeah, so ha'arel, somebody who doesn't have a bris. So before we continue, right? So ha'arel, what is ha'arel? We had this many times before, but just kedai to pay. Why is a guy an arel?
Maybe parts of his other brothers died or something.
Oh, so that's it. The way Rashi understands it's kohen shemesu achiv machmas mila. So meaning we're not talking about a guy who's a oisvarf, who just decided he's not doing a mila, right? We're talking about a guy who has a good reason.
People.
Right, exactly. He has a good reason not to do the bris. He's not allowed to.
What is if the moil doesn't want to do the first son? He says, this first son is sakana. So is he called an arul? Or
I mean, if he can't find the moil.
Yeah, the moil said you shouldn't mal this kid. It's a sakana to mal this kid.
How do you know that?
That's why Esav was.
Because they're a moil and you're not a moil. That's why.
Esav, they didn't do a bris on Esav because he was all red. They was afraid to do it. They said they'll wait.
Right.
And then it happened. He never got a bris. So maybe a baby
he's
came
called
out
an
red
oral
or
he's
something like
called
that.
He's an
else.
oral. No, it's so that's the thing. So that's it, right? So that's the thing. So Rashi is saying
He said it may not be the third child. You may have to wait for the fourth.
okay, whatever. That's a different. That's whether you hold it a chazakas. So Tosfos not really here. Tosfos discusses it here a little bit, but there's other Rishonim who say no. It's a guy who pashut has a fear of having a bris. He has a major fear of having a bris, and mamela, he's not having the bris done.
The time is on his father, no?
What?
The kid was 8 years old. Really.
No, because so till the kid becomes
No,
a
but when
gadol,
the kid gets
it's
older,
on the father. But once he becomes a gadol, it goes on him. Yeah. So whatever, it's an interesting.
Can he become a ger without a bris?
Wait, I mean, if he already had a bris before.
Well, a guy, he had two of his brothers had circumcision. They died.
Oh, so you mean maybe you say it's a different goof when they're yidden? Is that what you're saying?
I would say that, yeah, just to be make you say something. But yeah.
I hear. Maybe. I don't know, Taka. I don't know. That's a good question. And we're gonna go through. We're gonna see a lot of Hilchas Mila over here, in the next few blot. Okay, so oral. So somebody who doesn't have a bris for whatever reason, right? And all tmeim la yochlu b'truma. Anybody whose tummy is not allowed to eat truma. This is also very interesting that the differences here. So an oral, and anybody whose tummy can't eat truma. Neshei and vavdein yochlu b'truma, right? But their wives and their avodim are allowed to eat truma, right? Because what they do wrong. The woman's husband doesn't have a bris. Okay, what does that have to do with her? Right? And her husband's tummy, why can't she eat truma? She could eat truma. But pitzua daka, krus shavcha. So pitzua daka and the krus shavcha, they have, and we're going to see this a lot. This was last week's parsha also. Is either the testicles is a problem or the aver is a problem, whatever it is. They cannot have they cannot have normal functions. So that them hein vavdei and yochlu, they themselves are allowed to eat truma, because there's nothing wrong with them. I mean, there's something wrong with them, but there's nothing halachically wrong with them. But neshei and lo yochlu, but their wives are not allowed to eat because their wives are not allowed to be married to them, and they make a chalal, right? So again, an oral and a tamei.
Let's say it happened after.
Oh, so that's right. So that's what it says. Ve'im lo yada mishanasa p'tzuadaka kroshav. If they didn't know her, meaning if they never slept together, they stayed married, but they never slept together. From when they became p'tzuadaka kroshavka, then they are allowed to eat. So it's a din in the bia, not a din in marriage. But we had in yesterday's daf whether it should be a din in the bia, a din in the marriage. We say with truma, it seems to all be a din in the bia, not in the marriage. So as long as they didn't once, let's say they became a kroshavka after they were married, right? So then, as long as they weren't together with bia, then the wife does stay kosher.
Stay together without bia?
Are they allowed to? I'm assuming they're allowed to touch, but I don't know. They just can't have intercourse.
No, I'm saying,
right?
Are they allowed to stay married if there's a...
Yes, yeah. From here, it's the Mishna saying, yeah, they could stay married, right? As long as they weren't together. I don't know if that's the way we pass it, but that's what the Mishna say. Right. So again, it's an interesting thing that an oral and somebody who's tamei is not they're not allowed to eat truma, but their wives are allowed to eat truma. A patzuadaka and a krushavcha are allowed to eat truma, but their wives are not allowed to eat truma. Right? Fine. So okay, ve'ezu patzuadaka. What's a patzuadaka? Kol sheniftu habeitzim shaloi. If the beitzim become the testicles, there becomes a cut in them. And even if only one of them, which brings an interesting shiloh, which again, of course, I forgot to look into, is that, there are ball players I know that had testicular cancer and they had one of the testicles removed. Does that make them a patzuadaka now? Then I'm saying, if a man, I'm sure there's yidden out there like this. I remember once seeing something about it. I don't remember now how do we call that do I call that a patzuadaka? Right? And now they're not allowed to be together with their wives. I think for some reason we don't. I just don't remember why.
I don't think we pass them like that. I remember
Can they stay married?
Stay married from the Mishnah's mashma, yeah. Right? But
let's say the guy has what do you call it? He gets the cancer, like after he's married for 15 years. Can they stay married after that?
Yeah, but they're not supposed to be. They're allowed to stay married, but they can't have intimacy, I think.
I
think so. What are you saying, Gershon? You remember a psak on this?
I think halacha l'maisa with one, we say they can get married l'chatchila.
I think we do also. I just don't remember what the pshat is.
I cited you a case with my uncle. I was in the car. He got a shayla from a Talmud.
Oh, vaguely. Yeah.
He found out that morning he was about to get engaged. He wanted to know how to present it to her, whatever.
Right.
L'maisa, he was allowed to get married.
Right. I don't know. I have to look into and see what the pshat is. But either way, the way the Mishnah is saying it here,
I think the passul is bedavka crushed, not just cut.
Okay, but here we're talking about if he doesn't have it, if it's missing. So maybe that's a pshat, that if it's missing, it's fine. Okay, whatever. We're going to see this in the Gemara.
It's what's missing. Krus shavcha is missing. Patzuadaka means it's crushed.
Krus shavcha is on the aver. Patzuadaka is talking about the testicles. So two different things. Okay, let's wait for 5 blocks from now. Bez Hashem, we'll see how the sugi goes. Okay. Ukros shavcha kol shenikeres hagid shenichras hagid. If the gid is cut, right? The gid means the actual aver. And if you even have a little bit of the atara of the crown, afilu kechut hasaira, even if there's a chut hasaira, meaning even the tiniest bit, then that's going to be kosher, even if there's a cut there. Okay, we'll see how this whole sugya in the Gemara. Right, so again,
with today, if they can transplant it back on, is that still a krus shavcha?
Don't know.
There was a ma'isa about 15 years ago in the Philippines. A woman got so mad at her husband, she chopped his whole labor off. And they were able to sew it back on.
Lorena Bobbitt.
Right, remember that? I was in Eretz Yisrael for that. I came home for I remember coming home from Pesach. All I heard were these jokes about it. I had no idea what anybody was talking about.
What is it?
Yeah. All right. But no, like say somebody they cut off the even. Okay. So something Gemara. Tanya Amar Rabbi Elazar. Minayin la'aral she'ein oichel b'teruma. How do we know that an oral is not allowed to eat teruma? Now we're going to do a lot of drushes for the next 2 blocks. Lots and lots of drushes, back and forth, gizeira shavahs. Not difficult, but not. I'm not going to say it's not geschmack. It's just it's like accounting. Like when you need to figure out why things are so. It's like you're doing accounting. Yeah. So minay la'aral she'ein oichel b'teruma. How do we know that an oral cannot eat teruma? Nemar toishav b'sachir b'pesach. So it says the words a toishav and a sachir, right? Which means toishav means somebody like a ger toishav. Somebody doesn't mean ger toishav here, but it means somebody who's dwelling. And a sachir literally means like somebody who's rented out. So it says the words toishav and sachir b'pesach, v'nemar toishav b'sachir b'teruma. So what is it talking about by Pesach? Ma toishav b'sachir hamer b'pesach oral asur by. So when it says toishav b'sachir by Pesach, it says right after that an oral is not allowed to eat the Korban Pesach. So af toishav b'sachir hamer b'teruma says the same words toishav b'sachir by teruma. So that means an oral is also. So basically, we're learning it out teruma from Pesach, right? That toishav the gizeira shavah toishav v'sachir. Fine. Rabbi Kiva Aimer and it's oral. You don't need the gizeira shavah of toishav v'sachir. Hari Aimer ish. It says a man. Now, why does it say a man? Man, it says ish. What's the pasuk say there? Ish. Mizera Aaron. V'utzarua izav v'kodshim lo yachel ala sheyita. Right? He's not allowed to eat kodshim. So why does it say ish? So that tells you to include an oral, right? Who is not considered a man for this because he doesn't have a bris. Fine. So Amar Mar, Rabbi Elazar, Aimer, never toishav b'sachir b'pesach, whenever toishav b'sachir b'teruma. Ma toishav b'sachir b'pesach, oral asur by. Af toishav b'sachir b'teruma, oral asur by. Mufna. So now just as little hakdama, right? When you have gizeira shavah, so yes, there are 2 similar words. But you could ask kashas on it, and you can slug up the gizeira shavah. But if the gizeira shavah comes from words that seemingly are extra, then you can't ask any questions. Even you might have questions to try and disprove the comparison. But if the words are extra, so then they're extra. Now there's 2 ways to have that, because again, gizeira shavah is comparing 2 different cases. So like here we're comparing Pesach, right? The Korban Pesach to teruma. So you can have the words can be extra by both, which that's the ultimate gizeira shavah, and that's rock solid. You cannot ask any questions on it. I mean, you could ask, but your answers, we don't care what the answer is. We're going with it. Then you could have where one or the other is extra, which is also better, but not as strong as both being extra, right? So the Gemara is going to ask, the Gemara is going to discuss now if it's extra. So the Gemara says, Mufna, then yes, this is a gizeira shavah. That is literally mufna means from the word pnuya. It means it's free, meaning it's available. Dilav mufna, and it has to be a mufna, because if it wasn't mufna, we can ask a simple question that you cannot learn out teruma from Pesach, because mala Pesach can chayav b'sham pigul v'noisa v'tomei. Pesach, you're chayav on it because of pigul, noisa, and tomei. So Pesach is much more chamor than teruma, right? Because you have many more chumras. So the Gemara answers, La yafnuye mufna. Yes, they're extra. The words are extra, and therefore it's a solid gizeira shavah. No questions can be asked. So the Gemara says, Hey mufna. So now we need to know how it's mufna. Which one is mufna? Either teruma. If you're going to say the words toishav and sachir by teruma are mufna, mitzvah tzrichi. No, you need that. You need to say the words toishav and sachir. The Tanya toishav zekani kinyan olam. What's a toishav? That's an eved who you acquire forever, meaning that's the eved who after 7 years we bust a hole in his ear and he's yours till yovel, right? So that's considered forever. And then sachir is that kani kinyan sharim, and the sachir is just the stam eved who's just going for the years. But yaimar toishav out the yaimar sachir. So why don't you just say toishav and don't say sachir, right? Meaning bani yaimar, what are you going to say? Kani kinyan oilam. If somebody who's kaina a kinyan forever, he's not allowed to eat your teruma, meaning we're talking about where these avadim belong to a kohen. So if we're saying that a kohen, eved who belongs to you, right, is not allowed to eat truma, even though he belongs to you forever. Kinyan shanim like kol shekain. So somebody who's only temporarily yours, right, is not in the kol shekain that it can't eat truma, right? So we need to say taishav and sacher, right? So they want to say, no, I'm sorry. I said, no, you don't need to say taishav and sacher. They want to answer, no, ilu kain. If that would be the case, that only one of them says, hey, you see, I'm a taishav zekani kinyan shanim, that the taishav means one who's temporarily yours. Avakani kinyan olam eichel. But if you have an eved who's yours forever, he would be able to eat truma. So bas sachir comes the word sachir v'limed al taishav and teaches us on taishav sha'af al pisha kana kinyan olam ein eichel, that even though it's kind of kinyan olam, he's not allowed to eat it. So meaning, so taishav and sachir by truma is not extra. So that doesn't work. Okay, so ela the Pesach mufni, so must be the words taishav and sachir by Korban Pesach are extra. Hi taishav sachir, the custom of one Pesach, mind you. Which taishav and sachir that it says by Korban Pesach, what are they? You name a taishav and sachir mamish. If you say it's talking about somebody who's a taishav and a sachir mamish, so mishum dahavale taishav and sachir if the be Pesach, could it be because they're your slaves, a taishav and sachir, they're potter from Korban Pesach? Well, kaimelon gabi truma, the loy ochil, right? We learned that by truma, these avodim can't eat the truma because they don't belong to you. So alma loy konile. So you see that they're not owned loy konile rabbi. The master doesn't own them, and therefore they are not considered owned, and they're mechayev and Korban Pesach. So hachanami loy konile rabbi, right? So here, so too here by Korban Pesach, their master is not kind of them, and they are regular yidden, and they should be chayev in Korban Pesach. So therefore, you don't have to say the words taishav and sachir. So why you say it for? Elalaf nuye must be the reason why the Torah said taishav and sachir is to teach you that it's extra, right?
I know. An eved ivri nirtza is not coming kinyan aguf.
No, we're saying because of truma. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. But since he's not considered for truma, therefore for Pesach he's not going to be either. Since for truma we're looking at him like he's his own entity, so we have to look at him like he's his own entity for truma too.
Why? How do I get that without gizeira shavah?
I don't know. I mean, well, that's what we're saying, the gizeira shavah.
No, we're using the gizeira shavah for arel.
We're using the gizeira shavah for oral, correct?
How do we use it for arel and eved ivri?
No, because I don't. I mean, how we learn it out? I don't know if it's is it gizeira shavah. It's not gizeira shavah. It's not gizeira shavah. How we learning it out? Yeah, I don't know, Taka. How are we learning it out? I think it's just pashut. I don't know if Taisus is asking your kasha or not, but I think it's pashut that once you're saying that he's not owned by somebody, that means he's a regular yid. See, Taisus has a different kasha. The second Taisus down has a geshmaka kasha. Just read the few words because it's interesting. Lashon Taisus of him because you want to put extra words in the Torah to make gizeira shavah. Cause of sheker, the Torah is writing a lie, right? The cause of lo yochel by. We're saying that it says taishav and sachir don't eat it, and we're saying no, they do eat it. So what's the Torah writing it for? So we're saying taishav and sachir lo yochel. We're saying no, it means that they are eating it, right? And the Torah, it was just doing it to extra. So it's one thing to put extra words that are not necessary to learn how to gizeira shavah, fine. But to take extra words and make it sound like write something that's not the halacha, how could you say that, right? So that's So that's fine. So whatever that kasha is.
Isn't Taisus' answer to that pashup shot in the Gemara though? Gemara says the Gemara's kasha was he named it Taishav Zachir Mamish, right? So Elamai, the Gemara is coming out. The pasuk doesn't mean Taishav Zachir.
Right.
So it means a goy, an Eved Kanani.
Yeah.
I mean, what else?
I don't. Yeah, that's Taisus teretz. Right. Anyways, Okay, so now so it's extra. Okay, v'akati mufna mitzad echad. It's only available on one side. V'akati mufna mitzad echad. It's only available on one side. Shemina le Rebbe Lazar, the Amar mufna mitzad echad l'meidin u'meshibin, and we know from Rebbe Lazar that if something is available on one, then you're allowed to ask questions. So Gemara answers no. Kiven de legufei lo tzarich, since you don't need it for the pasuk. Now this is gewaldic. What this Gemara does now to make a gizeira shavah is wild. Okay, kiven de leguf, because there's two words here that are extra: taishav and sachir, right? So now kivan de legufei lo tzarich. So since we don't need these two words, taishav and sachir, shadi chad alamad, put one extra word onto the thing you're learning it out from, that you're learning it to. V'shadi chad amelamed, and put one onto the melamed. So now, so now you have an extra word. Basically, what happened is you have the word taishav and sachir by Pesach, which is extra. You have taishav and sachir by teruma, not extra. So what we do is we take one word and put it onto teruma. Now you have another word by Pesach. Now they're both extra, and Gevaldik, it's extra from both sides. No kashas to be asked.
What?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
still don't understand that. What you have by Pesach, Taishav and Sachar extra.
Yes.
You have by
says
Truma.
Taishav and Sachar is not extra.
So leave Truma alone and then.
But we want it to be extra on both sides. We want it to be extra on both sides. Like this, you can't ask any kasha on a gizeira.
So you take one where you take Taishav
and put it onto teruma.
But now what?
Now it's extra by teruma because we don't need it because you already have it.
You're right.
And now you have the extra one by Pesach, Sachir, and then Memela. Listen, I could never have thought that one up on my own, but that's what the Gemara is saying you could do.
Apparently, it's a stronger limud than an Eino Yinyan, because the Gemara could have just said Eino Yinyan the Kant, Eino Yinyan the
right.
Truma.
Yeah,
It's Yaakov. Taisus gives a little more of a hezbollah to it.
Yeah. I was about to say the Taisus, but
Taisus, I mean, it's still wild how they're moving words around because it's only on one pasuk, but at least Taisus is saying that they're the same word.
Right.
So it's actually more of a gizeira shavah in a way.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the same word. Correct. If they were completely different words, how could you go ahead and say they're mufna on both sides? They're completely different words.
Right.
They're doing all the heavy lifting, these words.
It's a good
way.
Wait,
are you saying the Taisus is saying that this gizeira shavah now is going to go both ways? Since the sachir of teruma, let's say, is now written by Pesach, so you're learning that an eved ivri l'shamim by Pesach, learning that teruma now.
Yeah,
we're not learning any of that. What we're doing is saying that it's the same word. That's all we're doing, and we're learning the same in Yanim. We're not talking about shanim.
No,
these are extra
words. But if I'm going
to
take the sachir, those are the ones that's not extra.
It means the same thing. That's what Taisus is saying. Taisus says it means the same thing. The two words mean the same thing. It's Taisus. Not shanim, not forever. The words mean the exact same thing.
No, but I need that by teruma. I need to know shanim and nirtz.
All right, let's go.
We're not learning those two words. We're learning only the words that are extra. That's all.
Yeah, but I don't know why we don't do this by a lot of other gizeira shavas. Just start moving around extra words. Move it back here, back there, and then finish.
Because you don't have two words all the time. You always have one.
Right. Okay. That's true. That's true. Okay. So let's see. Ima Pesach einen aser by af trumas einen aser by. So now, basically, the Gemara is going to go through all the different halachas. I don't know if all, but many different halachas of Korban Pesach and teruma, and try and say, well, we have a gizeira shavah, so why don't we say that they're equal in all halachas? Right. So the first one, it says einen. So einen is somebody who loses a relative before the kvura. Right. So the Gemara says ima Pesach einen aser by. So Korban Pesach and einen can't eat it. Af teruma einen aser by. So teruma also and einen can't eat it. Right, so no, it says zar v'chol zar. Zar is amartilach v'lo yaninas. Right, we had this before that zar. It means it's a zar can't eat teruma, meaning a stranger who's a yid who's not a kohen cannot eat teruma, but not if he's an einin. Meaning a kohen is allowed to eat teruma. right? So Korban Pesach can eat truma, cannot eat truma if he's an einin, and a zar can eat. I'm sorry, truma. By Korban Pesach, an einin is not allowed to eat the Korban Pesach, but an einin is allowed to eat truma. An einin kohen, obviously. So Gemara is as the aim of arelus, right? So why don't you just say that a zar is not allowed to eat truma, but an arel is allowed to eat truma? Meaning, why are you saying that zar comes to exclude arel? I'm sorry, a zar comes to exclude einin, and that einin can eat truma. Why don't you say arel? Right? So the Gemara says haksiv taisha b'sacher, because it says taisha b'sacher, which we learn out from arel or marisa. So okay, so who says you should darshan one in one way and one the other way? So the Gemara says mistabra reilus havelelu rabuye shekain masim krusim b'davar ha'aver. What does this mean? That arelus you should include in truma and tell you that an arel can't eat truma. Why? Because it's mechusar maisa. Because he's missing a maisa. He's missing a maisa of mila, umaisa begufay, and he has to do a maisa on his body to make him roy. Va'onush chorus, right? And he gets chorus because he doesn't have a bris. V'yeshna lefnei adibur. Mila was also before Har Sinai. Umila schara v'avodah ma'akeves. And the mila of his kids and his avodim are ma'akevim. Meaning, Korban Pesach, there's a unique thing that not only can a person who doesn't have a bris not eat Korban Pesach, if he has kids or avodim who don't have a bris, they're also not allowed to eat Korban Pesach. So there's a whole lot of dinim that are involved with an arel. So we're going to say that that tells us that an arel should be excluded from eating truma, and not an einin. So Gemara says, Adarabba, aninus havelei l'rabuye. We should include aninus to tell you that aninus shouldn't eat truma. Sheken yeshna b'chol shah, and einin can happen at any time. Nobody knows when a relative could be dying. And men and women are eininim. You can't fix it, right? So, but a meaning a bris, somebody who's an arel can fix it theoretically, right? So, yeah, fine. Hanoch nefishin. So we say no. These are more. There are more halachas about an arel than about an einin. So that's one teretz. Rava says, why do we say that it's truma and kohen is not a kohen? Einin is allowed to eat truma. Kohen who's passul, who's an arel cannot. But like hanach nefishin nami like matzis amrit. Why even without that? There's a lot of extra halachas by arel. You also can't say it though, because shafshkin and arelus desib begufay de Pesach. Because should we leave arelus that it says by Pesach, the pasuk says beferish by Pesach, and arel can't eat the Korban Pesach. We afina aninus mi Pesach. Then we learn out aninus from Pesach. The Pesach gufay mi meiser garina. By Pesach you learn it out from meiser, meaning so. Even by Pesach, it says arel beferish. It only says einin, not beferish. So therefore, rather we're going to exclude somebody who's not learned out beferish than from something that's learned out beferish. Okay, so I'm going to ask another thing. Ima Pesach milas chara b'avodah ma'akeves av truma milas chara b'avodah ma'akeves. So we just said by the Korban Pesach, if the person has kids who don't have a bris, and he has avodim that don't have a bris, so then they should also be excluded from eating truma. We learn out from Pesach. So makra malta oisai oz yochal boy. Give him a mila, and then he should eat. Mila schara b'avodah ma'akeves boy milacha Pesach. The mila of his males, the kids, and avodim pushes him off from eating Pesach. And the mila of the kids does not ma'akab you from eating truma. So when I ask, it should say, every oral should not eat but he could eat truma. It's the same shagav, but it already says taisha v'sacher, which tells us oral. Umari, and who says which one you should include, which one you should exclude. Mistabra arelus de kufei havelei l'rabuye arelus on the guf itself you should include shekain ma'isa begufay. On oral, it's a ma'isa in his gufa, on his kara, so it's stricter. So I'm going to ask, you should include that. Shekain yeshna b'chal shah. You have that at any time, meaning even if you gave a bris to all your kids, you could have a bris, and this will be tomorrow's daf. You could have a baby born on Erev Pesach. Now what are you going to do? So the Gemara answers Hanat Lefishin. So oral is there's more mitzvahs there, so that's why we're going to include that. Because is it possible that if somebody's own bris or lack of bris doesn't stop him from eating teruma and areilus dachrini ma'akevespe, but somebody else not doing a bris is going to push him off? Can't be. So therefore, it's not. Therefore, it's not going to be.
Isn't that for the din by Korban Pesach?
Yeah. So.
What does that mean? No, by
teruma. What do you want to do? Aser.
We're trying to learn it from Pesach, and the answer you can't learn it from Pesach because Mia committee.
Yeah, that how could you have that he himself is an oral, is not ma'akiv, but arelus yeah, but the arelus of others is going to be ma'akiv him, right? Yeah. Anyways, okay, so that's basically what we have the gizeira shavah from Mila from Pesach to teruma, and from both of them that oral can't eat teruma, oral can't eat Korban Pesach, but it stops at that. The comparison stops there. All the other things they each have their own individual halachas. Okay, we'll stop. We'll stop here. All right, not so bad from the starting 9 o'clock, 9:05. Not bad.
We should do this when you do
So
8:30.
what are we doing, like Baimer? When are you giving share?
Like Baimer? Why, we going to the Mets game or something? Well, what's
Mets game? Sorry, we're going to the Hilula. We're going to the Hilula, Yaakov.
When I was a kid, I had a minute. We went to the Mets game on every Lag Baimer. With all the
The Mets already started the Hilula for the season.
The tent is having an adlaka.
Who is?
The tent, Aaron.
The tent is having adlaka?
Adlaka on the coronavirus.
Yaakov, I heard you lighting. You're lighting the fire.
It's being one second. It's being hosted. One second. It's being hosted. The tent is having it. It's being hosted in Zevi's backyard.
I hear. Very nice. Usually I go up to Monroe. Usually I go to Monroe.
Yeah.
This year it's much later, right?
Yeah, but the hadlaka is not going to start in Monroe probably to close till 11. So I don't know.
It's much later because it's Ibia.
See, yeah. So ich weiß nicht. I don't know. We'll post it out there. Probably be a little earlier. That's what I would assume it'll be a little earlier.
Yaakov, the Hasidim in Williamsburg couldn't get you this year. Only Monroe.
Then Williamsburg don't have anything. That's why I got schlepped to Monroe.
Oh, you're saying you would have gone there? Whatever's closer.
You know, you could go to Borough Park also.
Yaakov, you know that the shulitza has in your corner. I'm just putting it out.
Let's get something straight. Let's get something straight. In case anybody's choshen me that I'm a Hasidish, okay? I'm not going there.
One second, let me get the recording off.
You can record it, put it out there. Put it out there. I'm not going because of a Hasidish, but in Monroe, there's 20,000 Yidden singing together. It's ganz. I don't want to again say it's inspirational twice in one night, but it's quite geschmack to be there. What should I tell you? 20,000 Yidden singing. It happens to be beautiful. What should I tell you?
I just wanted to make sure you weren't picking one over the other, Tiago. That's all.
Like I said to somebody, and I shouldn't say it as a recording, but if Santa Claus was standing there lighting the fire, I wouldn't care. As long as there's 20,000.
I love it. I can't believe
Tiago, you being Madonna for Santa Claus? What's going on here?
What?
Did you stop the recording?
No,
I didn't stop the recording. I don't care. I'm saying, listen, the Rebbe's a nice choshev person, but I'm going for the crowd, not for the. I don't care what you know what I mean. The Yidden, 20,000 Yidden. How often you get to be with 20,000 Yidden? That's all I have to say. That's all.
Go ahead.
Anyways, yeah. All right. Zag is on everybody. Have a good night.
What do I have to say when I mention my father?
Oh, Naftali wants to know what he has to say when he mentions his father.
Hareini kaparas mishkavai.
Hareini kaparas mishkavai. I should have the kapara of his.
Jacob, I
death.
can't believe you had to tell them about this now. I mean, seriously?
Aaron, you have a way to make a baseball cap or something before tomorrow, and then he could wear it, or a t-shirt,
I'll do it like the Shiny Diamond cap when I fly on those flights.
Or maybe give him one of those, those magnetic things you put on the back of the car.
Right.
Hareini
kaparas mishkavai. Yes.
Come a few more times.
Yeah.
Listen, it's
But the Welt doesn't do it. The Welt doesn't do it.
You got to do the Misaskim sign with the transliteration.
Jacob, you thought you were going to get him out of it by telling him the Welt doesn't do it? I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah.
All right.
We're off to our Sulitz and Ma'ariv.
Oh,
Sulitz has a Ma'ariv?
10:10.
Yeah, 10:10 they have Ma'ariv.
They don't have 10 o'clock at Jifrak anymore?
No, they moved it to 9:30, my mazel. Otherwise, it would make life so much easier.
Yeah, because we can go back to 8:45.
I was thinking about it. I don't know. I'm not sure because the Viola, I think I didn't.
You still haven't made it once.
I made it once.
You didn't make it
Shmoneh
once.
I made the 9:30 once for Shmoneh Esrei.
You said you weren't going to do that.
One second, Jacob.
I did it in the end.
What's the
did in the end?
Ma'ariv situation? What's the Ma'ariv situation in camp?
I have no idea. It's always a headache. Mamish, you have no idea. Last year,
Jacob,
after I
how's the
finished,
Wi-Fi this year? How is the Wi-Fi?
I know. I was actually thinking about telling Camp that I need a Wi-Fi in my bungalow.
You should tell him. You want me to tell Witowski? I'll tell him.
I don't want to. I don't know. I mean, it's
not a big deal to put an extender in.
Tiago, if he's going to use you to promote the fact he does a rel that teaches Daf everywhere, he's got to, make sure.
I'm gonna tell him to put a hard wire in there.
He likes putting out the statuses that shows you giving Daf, but if you're giving Daf over a shvach Wi-Fi, what's the point?
Ooh, Akiva, by the way, Akiva, I think you missed your calling. Instead of being an accountant, you should have been an attorney.
I'm miserable enough, Aaron.
Good gesagt.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, most of the time the Wi-Fi worked over there.
Tiago, you were like standing on the pitcher's mound with your Gemara turned sideways trying to get Wi-Fi.
Fridays.
Yeah, you're relying on a bus of B'chalav Dikiroi, 51%.
I think Fridays was the issue, right? Fridays
with the showering, with the Wi-Fi.
Gets overloaded.
Thursday night, Fridays, Matzah Shabbos, Sunday.
It gets overloaded. No, that's when I was on my phone. Aaron, I still have to find your phone.
Yeah, where's that phone, Taco?
I don't know. I hid it so well. From my kids. I have an iPad Plus, whatever you call iPad Pro, hiding in the country that I hid last year from my kids, and they got every hiding place. I hid it so well, I lost it. I have no idea where it is.
Tiago, I promise you, it's still not there anymore. You know that, right?
That could be. Maybe it got stolen. Could be.
I think the raccoon ate it.
Maybe the raccoon ate it. Yes, that's true.
Something when I go up, I should check.
Yeah.
All right. Good to know.
Okay.
All right. Good night.
Good night.